Hey guys, welcome to Nikki GTV, where we talk about movies, anime, and video games. And today we're going to be talking about the first episode of Marvel's What If. And today we got a special guest here too. My special guest is one of my best friends, Craig. What's going on, Craig?
What's up?
So, Marvel's What If released yesterday on Disney Plus, and the first episode. Oh, before we start, this is an open spoiler discussion / review type thing, so we will be getting into some spoilers, so you do have a fair warning now. First episode, what if Captain Carter became the super soldier? So, what's your thoughts on it, Craig?
What if I like this episode? I'm just kidding. Look, I like the concept because I love Peggy Carter. I like the concept of, again, this is a very small sample size. This is the first episode. I don't know how the rest of this series will go. I like the concept of her becoming Captain Carter. I feel like the story-wise, there was a couple things they changed. But for the most part, it kind of just looked like an animated version of the first Avenger with Peggy Carter as Captain America. I feel like nothing was truly that different. So, like, it was cool, but it was all right.
Yeah, so it sounds like it suffered, in your opinion, it suffered a little bit from what was going on towards the end of WandaVision, where people had a lot of hype and a lot of expectations, but it didn't necessarily hit that because it was expected to be something else. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't think I would compare it to the end of WandaVision. I don't know what I expected. It's not like, I feel like they could have went in a ton of different directions. It's not what I expected. I feel like it's kind of just they're just recycling what they did already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I thought, what if? Again, this is one episode. It might be different for everything else. I thought What If was going to be like new storylines, but if you actually watch, the episode, there are a couple diversions, and I do like those.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's kind of, all right, this is the exact movie, but now it's Peggy Carter. So I'm like, it just doesn't seem very innovative in terms of the storyline.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure where they're pulling it from. I know there was already a What If comic book series. I don't think it directly pulls from that. It's just like in the same vein where we're gonna make up a cool story. What if small minor details? Obviously, we already have a teaser for Black Panther meeting Guardians and stuff like that. So that's gonna be vastly different. But I actually think this has potential to be the best Disney Plus Marvel show so far.
How so?
Because I just think because each episode doesn't tie in with each other, you could go all in on each episode instead of having to play the long game with it. And I also love the fact, because it is animated, allows a lot of the choreography and the fight scenes to be a little bit bigger than if they were just to be live action, like when she's fighting all the guys coming off of the truck, or when she's jumping into the buildings. I just felt like the choreography was allowed to be bigger because it was animated. And I mean, obviously tying in Steve Rogers and having him become Iron Man instead of Tony Stark, and the whole thing with it
was cool. Yeah, was cool.
And the Hydra, the giant octopus thing coming out of the portal, and having that be the thing that she fights at the end. And I mean, the only thing I didn't know what to expect from the show, so I didn't go in there with high expectations because I didn't know what to expect. Just watching the trailer, I actually thought the animation looked kind of whack until I watched the show, and I think it looks much better in the show than it did in the trailer. And the only thing, watching the episode, about halfway through the episode when the train blows up with Steve Rogers in it, I do wish, or I was expecting them to go through the whole Captain America movie series, not just the first movie, and that they were going to be fighting, and she knocks off Steve Rogers' mask, and she's like, Steve, instead of Steve Rogers knocking off Bucky's mask, and he's like, Bucky, from the second one, from Winter Soldier. So I was half expecting him to become Winter Soldier at some point, but the fact that they just pretty much remade the first movie but put Peggy instead of Steve. I thought it was just a fun, nothing to take itself too seriously with, no deep implications for the MCU, except for one minor detail at the end. Having the Watcher narrate. I think that's the only thing so far with the show that has some deep implications for the rest of the MCU. What do you think about that?
Well, first off, to the animation style, I slightly disagree. I love it's very well done. So I'm not knocking any of the animators. I know it's an extremely hard job that I would never be able to do. I think the backgrounds, the landscapes are beautiful. They remind me of like a classic Disney movie. It was just the character animation themselves. It was looked like it was trying to be Into the Spider-Verse, but it was like also not, and it just wasn't really connecting. The character, the physicality of them moving and stuff, just the character design itself didn't totally work for me. Though the scenes with her when they're in the air and she's fighting those planes, that was badass. And when she does meet the Steve in the Hydra Stomper, that was badass. I did have fun. Look, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer and say it's the worst thing ever. I don't think it was a bad show, a bad episode. I enjoyed myself. I had a good time. I just thought if you're gonna retell these stories, really retell them. Don't maybe, and this might just be a sample size, just a tease to get us acquainted with this, to give us something familiar that we know. We know the first Captain America movie, so maybe that's what it was. I just felt like it was a little bit too much, like basically cut and paste of that movie with slight deviations. I do think, first of all, this is a Marvel Studios production.
Right.
I am very confident that this is going to tie into the live action aspect of the MCU, and I don't think every single thing will tie in. Like, obviously I don't think Black Panther as a Guardian's going to tie in. I don't think every single episode is. I take this as Loki opened the multiverse. This show is tied into, it's not MCU canon in the same vein of the Infinity Saga. I call it MCU multiverse canon, which can technically, I guess anything could be MCU multiverse canon at this point. But I feel like this is all stuff that now, in all of those alternate realities that we got introduced to in Loki, these are other examples of ones that are canon within the MCU multiverse. And I think you will see some trickle over, and I actually think Peggy Carter as Captain Carter is going to be something that does trickle over into live action.
I mean, I would love to see it. That'd be cool to bring her back. And was it Haley Albright or something like that? It would be cool to bring her back. Bring her back. She was fantastic. Obviously, her show didn't do as successfully as some people were expecting, but either way, it'd be cool to see her back on the suit. What do you call her? Like, they called her Captain Carter, but like
Captain Carter, yeah.
Yeah, Captain Britain or the Great Brit. That would be sick.
I want to see her, Red Guardian, and Captain America all fight.
That'd be actually sick.
That'd be fun.
And I mean, Winter Soldier's got a Super Soldier Serum too. Might as well throw him in there too. But I mean, I don't want to be like Comic Book News or any of those weird like websites, but do you think this has any implication of bringing any of the Fox characters in?
Last year I would have said yes. Before I finished watching WandaVision, I would have said yes. I don't think we're going to see any of the Fox characters aside from Deadpool.
Anytime soon.
What was that?
You mean anytime soon or in this show specifically?
In Marvel in general, in the MCU.
Oh, in the MCU.
I think the only one that might have a chance besides, because look, Deadpool, they've already committed to doing it.
Yep.
He can very easily be thrown into the MCU. We already saw him cross over with Cork, so I guess he technically is. Marvel is going so off the rails with the multiverse, it's like just so easy to bring him in.
Absolutely.
I don't think they're invested in any of the Fox characters aside from him. Here's why: because I think Marvel wants a clean slate of X-Men. Deadpool can exist on his own, and he has. I think the core X-Men, they they don't want. I think Hugh Jackman's Wolverine has a chance of cameoing, not coming back.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think any of the other ones are going to come back because it doesn't make any sense. Especially the new crop of X-Men were not popular, really, that series, aside from Magneto and Professor X themselves. And Disney owns Deadpool, and Deadpool is profitable. The old Fox X-Men stuff was not profitable anymore. They want a new team that they could honestly merchandise and build their own universe around. They don't. I feel like Deadpool is Deadpool, and if we get all 3 Spider-Men in the next Spider-Man movie, I think is like the furthest they can go without really making a mess, you know, in terms of multiverse. I feel like that's kind of, you can go up to there. Anything past that is just, you're really making a mess at this point. I don't think they're going to do that. I do think, though, characters from the What If show can and will show up in the MCU proper because, like I said, first off, this is Disney owned, Disney controlled. This is not another studio had it and then they did. These are all their characters that they've made already. And I think Kevin Feige is doing this deliberately because they clearly have a multiverse plan. And I think What If is giving us certain character details that are going to cross over, whether it's Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, or somewhere else. And I wouldn't be surprised if now with the rumors that Chris Evans has signed another deal, maybe we do get that show of him living his life in an alternate reality when he went back to live with Peggy. And maybe that alternate reality that branched off is the same reality where she's Captain Carter.
That would be cool. I mean, they already confirmed that it's like multiverse canon, right? It's not. I mean, it's not MCU specific, but it's multiverse canon.
The writer confirmed that, which is, in my opinion, different from Kevin Feige confirming it. Because until Kevin Feige confirms it, I don't take anything as like canon in the MCU.
Okay.
Because even the Russo brothers and the writers of Endgame have conflicting reports on what exactly happened with Captain America. Whether I think the writers said that he branched a timeline, and the directors said that he's in our same timeline. So I don't take what the writers or directors say as canon until Feige says it. It's not real.
Okay. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Like I said, the Watcher aspect alone has a lot of implications if they do decide to make it, multiverse canon. Having the Watcher appear is huge, and who knows? I mean, if we do have the 3 Spider-Men, it'd be an easy way to kind of tie one in to have what if Peter Parker never got bit, but the guy who's playing Peter Parker is Andrew Garfield instead, or they model it after Andrew Garfield or something. That's the easy way to tie it in. Who knows? Whatever.
I don't know if example, that though, just contract wise.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But back to the X-Men point, you're saying I don't want to drag this on too long, but back to the X-Men point, like you were saying,
let's drag it.
I mean, the original X-Men lineup didn't even have like Wolverine and stuff like that. It was just Beast, Angel, Storm, Professor X, and I think there was Cyclops. So that's like really easy to like restructure it based off new characters. Like we saw Angel once in like the first, second, like couple of times. He didn't have a big role. Beast was obviously a little bit more, but he was in the third one. Not really not a major character. He was in the First Class and all that, but forgettable. I think the hardest ones you have are Professor X, Cyclops, and Storm, but I don't even know if Storm was in First Class.
Storm, I feel like you can get over the. Here's the thing. It's similar to. I would say it would be very hard. I think Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is going to be the hardest.
Sure. For
us to mentally, get past. But this is the difference than just a regular reboot. They have the MCU. What I mean by that is they rebooted Spider-Man 3 times by the time they got to Tom Holland. Now, if they just rebooted him 3 times and Sony made another solo movie where he got bit by a spider and it was just a contained Spider-Man movie again, I think people would have a harder time getting into it. Yeah. But the fact that you're the MCU, people, I think, will get over it very quickly if you give us Wolverine versus Black Panther. You know, that's something that they never could have done before.
Yeah.
If you give us who's still around, I'm trying to think. If you put Storm in Wakanda, that's
right. Yeah.
Like people are gonna be like, okay, we're done. We're over it. We can still watch those movies. They're still technically, you can still call them multiverse canon, because if they bring Deadpool in, he technically, they were in his movie, even if it was a cameo. So technically it's multiverse canon. But I think people, when you have all these toys to play with, all these other characters that you never had before, like you can easily, I think, you make an X-Men versus Avengers movie, that Fox stuff is done. No one remembers that anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll remember Hugh Jackman, Wolverine. They'll remember, the great movies, the great X-Men movies.
Yeah.
But I think you can get people over that pretty quick if you do, which I think they will. You integrate them into your MCU in an Avengers movie or something like that, and I think people will get over it pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's also pretty easy with the Fantastic Four, like we were talking about with like Wakanda alone, with the whole Doctor Doom Emperor of Wakanda storyline, which was really brutal. I don't think they'll bring that to screens anytime soon, but as an example of a way that you could tie in all these Fox characters just using What If, it's because it's so broad and literally just you could do one of the biggest series is under the What If was what if Stan Lee wrote DC characters and DC had contracted Stan Lee to write some Batman stories, some Superman stories. So like there's so many implications.
I don't think they'll get that meta though. I don't think they'll get those.
No, I don't think that's like they would. Warner would want so much money and vice versa. Yeah. Like it would be.
I think maybe one day we can see a crossover in live action though. I don't think. And back to the X-Men quick. I don't think they're not gonna. I don't believe they'd be introduced in animated show.
Interesting.
And that be considered canon. I don't think Marvel would ever do that.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna whatever they do with the X-Men and whatever they do with the Fantastic Four. I don't even necessarily think it's gonna be multiverse their introduction aside from Deadpool. I think they will find a way to bring them in their MCU proper. I could be wrong. I think Fantastic Four has a better chance of being multiverse just because of the nature of Fantastic Four. But I don't think you would ever see, our first look at MCU X-Men in the animated stuff. I think it'd be live action.
Probably. They would want it to be big, but, Hulk 181, right? One of the biggest Hulk storylines, the last panel has Wolverine in it. So, if Hulk ever gets a solo movie, at the end of it, you just have, the new Wolverine appear, just like it is in the comic books.
What is Hulk going to do to Wolverine now?
I mean, I don't know, but
he's not a fighter anymore.
That's just an example. But back to the topic at hand. What if? What would you rate the first episode of What If out of 10?
6.
6. Wow, I was not expecting that. Okay, I actually rate it pretty high. I would give it an 8.2 out of 10. I like the show. I'm really excited for the show. I think they had the first episode be a little bland on purpose because this is clearly something they wanted to do, but they knew it was probably one of the weaker episodes, so they threw it in the beginning instead of having all the strong episodes in the beginning and having a weak ending. I'm gonna assume so.
It didn't have to be a weak episode though. Everyone loves Peggy Gardner.
Yeah, I don't know, but we know some of the episodes are gonna be bigger and have more tie-ins and have completely different stories from what we could assume. So,
right.
Yeah, that's all we got for right now. Craig, tell them where they could find you.
You can find me at instagrams.com, craig.shukri, SHUKRI, and the Collector Showcase on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch.
Sweet. And that concludes it for here, Nikki G TV. Thank you so much for subscribing, for liking the video. Comment below what you would love to see in the What If series, what you thought about the first episode, and let me know. Have a good one, guys.